Hello and welcome. Here we are. It is another episode of the Six Star Business Podcast. Welcome. I'm your host, Aveline Clark, and it is 2023. Welcome. It's a new year. I'm excited. I have two of my favorite, I can't say favorite, can I? My favored co-hosts with me today, because by the way, all my co-hosts are my favorites. I've got Corey Sebest with me as my co-host. How are you, Corey?
Lovely. I'm happy to be back. Happy New Year to you both.
Thank you. And I have the pleasure of interviewing one of my other co-hosts, Remeny Armitage. How are you doing, Remeny?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Happy New Year. Great to be here.
Thank you so much. And thank you for agreeing to be my guest, our guest on the podcast at the beginning of this new year. It's a good omen for a good year ahead, I think.
Oh, I hope so. It feels like a big honor, and hopefully we can kick off the new year with a bit of fun and humanity.
Good. I like the sound of that. Well, let's get started. I'm going to ask you the same questions that I ask everyone else. So, could you share with us where you are in the world and who do you serve?
So I am in Buckinghamshire in England. It is -7 today, freezing cold. Great fun this morning. With the ice. Anyway, and who do I serve? I serve businesses who want to be more human in their business and to build better relationships with their clients and their people. So I'm all about humanizing business.
Wonderful. How do you serve them?
How do I serve them? So
Hmm.
I help businesses really understand their people by listening. So I essentially what I do is I interview their people. So mostly I interview people's clients, and I get an impartial, honest understanding of what people's clients and customers truly think of them and how they can then be served better, how can they can improve the experience by understanding what their clients really really want. I also interview their team members to understand what they think and how they feel. And then with that kind of 360 view, I can help a business understand their people and understand how they can improve their business off the back of what their people truly think in a kind of safe, human, caring, nurturing environment with real honesty and impartiality.
Wow, I love that so much. We'll dive more into that in a bit. And tell me, when you're not busy doing that, do you have something that you like to do for fun?
Well, I've got a nearly 9-year-old and 10-year-old boys, so I'm always very busy with them, kind of playing games and going out and exploring the countryside and things with them. So I'm and my husband. So we're very busy when not working, being a mum of two very busy boys.
Wonderful. Lovely. All right. Well, I'm really keen to know a bit about your journey. I mean, it sounds like the work that you're doing is very unique. It's very specific in that, and it's different, which I love. Can you share with us what has been your journey? So go back and tell us your journey that's brought you to where you are today.
Wow, where do I start? Well, guess a potted history. I do see my journey starting from my childhood. I won't go into too much depth, but growing up, my parents were um, keen on moving. So sort of they were ex hippies, but slightly nomadic, young parents, and so my childhood was taken up with moving from England all over America, back to England, back to America, back to England. So during my childhood, my education was making friends and building relationships. And so I went to 16 different schools growing up. And when I came back to England at age 20, I went to uni and did all the traditional things, and then fell into the world of digital agencies. And I did the opposite of my parents. I stayed in my agency world for 18 years. So I worked for two agencies over the course of 18 years, building up relationships for them and learning all about business and about sort of everything from project management to marketing, biz dev, and kind of how the business is run and understanding the people within the business. And then 5 years ago, I set off on my own, and the thing that I love the most is building relationships, and I think it's the thing I've honed over the years. And so one of the things that I think that businesses and agencies and well, businesses as a whole struggle with is maintaining those relationships with their clients and keeping them engaged kind of through the project and beyond projects and relationships, and how do you build those relationships. And for me, it's about how do you become more human with your clients, how do you nurture those relationships, and to do that you need to stay engaged, speak to them, listen to them, and build human relationships. So that's what I help my clients do now. So that's kind of how I've got to where I am now, with lots of amazing people supporting me and making it possible, including you guys.
Thank you for sharing. Excuse me.
Sorry, Av. So yes, I guess Av was. It's about building those human relationships, really.
Mm. Thank you. Sorry about that. I got so ready and excited to jump into the next question. Obviously, you had to say something else. So, was there a point on your journey that kind of forced you to stop in your tracks, like the slap across the back, or the dark night of the soul, or the Mack truck of it? Did you have one of those moments that really pivoted your journey for you, that showed you what you need to be doing?
Um, I mean that's quite it's a big question. I think for me, there was a moment in my life that was life changing and made me kind of appreciate the importance of listening and empathy and care, and that importance of true human engagement and how it can change your life. And um, it was the loss of my first son, James. He was stillborn, and at that point my world crumbled. But the thing that I learned from that was the power of hope and the power of people, and the power of people who listen and care and let you talk, and truly spend the time nurturing you. And I think, before that, I kind of described it as life was happening around me, and I was living life in a way I was going from A to B, like probably a huge proportion of people. But then when that happened, I realized anything can happen, good and bad, to anyone, and you've got to live for today, make the most of today, and be as caring as you can with people. Not that I wasn't before, but and my background is led me to where I am. But I think that moment of reality, that a lot of what people were going through at the time seemed very trivial to me when I was kind of dealing with it, and I probably hardened a bit. But in a way, it was like, actually, if you take the time to care for your people, and the way that my business cared for me during that time was incredibly good and very caring. And I think, and then I had amazing support from friends and outside people, and a community of people who are going through the same thing. And I think understanding the importance of stopping and listening to what other people think and how they can care for you and seems so important, and I wanted to give back. So I think it took me a while to get to kind of recognize that what I'm doing now is as a result of some of that hardship in life. And I'm you know obviously what I went through was the worst I've ever been to, but I'm grateful for it in a way, because it's meant that I'm more empathetic. I'm able to stop and listen, and I think it's really important for businesses to care about their people in a human way, not just care about people in a kind of transactional, you're working for me, or in whatever way that is. It's about looking at how you can proactively be more human with the people surround yourself with.
Wow, what a life-changing event, and I can see how that's shaped what you do, and also given you meaning, and a very deep sense of purpose around what you do.
Mm. Um,
Mm.
and I mean, I've been very lucky because I went on and I had two healthy children, and so I now feel that I'd like to leave a legacy of what I'm doing. Sounds big. I want the world to be a place. I want the world to be more human. I want people to be striving for better and better relationships in the world that we live in. It's also tech driven, and I come from the tech world. I come from the digital agency world, and of
Mm,
course, everything that they stand for and do is all about digital and digital transformation. And I think the thing that I feel so passionately about, and I feel excited about the fact that I work in that world, is the fact that everyone I work with is incredibly human and good, and everyone's recognizing the importance of being human and engaging with people in a human way, but also remembering that all this digital stuff, you need to remember the person that's at the heart of that
mm,
and how people are going to engage with that. And that's
mm,
what I'm hoping we can try and achieve, is a more
mm.
human world, with with using technology. I mean, thank goodness for tech. We wouldn't have met without it, without Zoom and without all this kind of over lockdown and things. That actually being able to engage with people through computers the way we do now, it's amazing. And I don't underestimate the wonders of technology, but remembering that people need to be the reason for it and the heart of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you had that I guess that life changing event, was that the point where you knew that you were going to create this business, or did that come later?
That came later.
Mm,
It came from. I mean, I'd had my two children, two healthy children. So I got pregnant very quickly afterwards. I mean, my poor my poor company. I lost James, and 11 weeks later I got pregnant with Luke, and so I came back for about 6 months. Had Luke, and then before I came back after having Luke, um, I announced I was pregnant again. And so I was one of those awful, awful people destroying business. I came back again for another 4 months, and then went off again for my third child. And so but my company were lovely about it, incredibly excited for me, and or so they said. I am still friends with the owner, so but yeah, I did have my two boys shortly afterwards, and then I got to the point when my youngest was, I think he was probably about a year, 2 years old. I haven't figured it out, um, and it got to the point that the business wanted me in the office a bit more. I needed to, the life that they wanted me to be playing was different to what I needed, and I wanted to be there more for my family. And I decided that actually I could do more on my own. And I've been in the business for 10 years, so it was time for a change. And so I decided to take the leap and set up on my own. And actually, that part of the journey was absolutely not clear cut. I started out thinking, oh, I do marketing and biz dev and lead generation and client care, and I was offering way too much. But then it was a matter of getting really clear on what actually I wanted, what I loved. And with the help of my amazing business coach, Alan Wick, I managed to get really kind of clear, as he says, sharpen the axe, get really clear on what my message was, what my values were, and what my mission was. And once I managed to clarify that, I was able to say, okay, this is what I do. I help turn clients into advocates. I help businesses to, by listening, they can transform their business. And whether or not it's a matter of um, you know getting the teams working better and right and more efficiently, communicating better with your clients, or nurturing those relationships so that you have happier people. And so that's kind of where I went. I probably veered off completely from your question. Sorry.
it was a great answer, actually. And wow, so you you're in this really unique sort of space. Do you have others that you know of in the marketplace that do the similar things to you?
I do. I've done a competitor review, and funnily enough, I think my closest competitor, we're now collaborating. He's does his business is called Client Advocates. Here I am plugging him. Hi, Paul. but his work is very similar to mine. But what he does is he works more in the market research agency space. and then I'm working more in that sort of the digital creative world.
Mhm.
And so we kind of we complement each other and we talk, and it's lovely to have someone else who's doing something similar, and we're actually running round tables together and stuff, which is fab. But then I've also discovered other businesses who do similar work to me, and a lot of people call themselves researchers, or they do the interviews. But I think the difference between what I do and what other people do is I think the main thing is most people will get the results and then share them once they've done everything. For me, it's about, although those bigger results, the big picture is really important, it's also about those human relationships that need to be acted on now. So when I interview a client, um, I will feed back to my clients straight away and say, okay, there's an opportunity there, or there's an issue there. You need to nurture this relationship because of that. So I open up those conversations between clients, and they can act very quickly and start changing their business straight away off the back of what their clients are saying. Once I've done, the bulk of the interviews, it might be 5, it might be 10, whatever it might be, I'll then write a report and I'll present to the team and let people really understand what their clients are thinking, and help them, using my experience, my strategic thinking, along with what their clients are saying, help them look how they can improve the relationships with their clients and open up those opportunities, or open up new services that their clients are asking for. And building better teams as a result of what the teams are saying or what the clients are saying. So yeah, I think and I think ultimately, I hope the biggest difference is the humanity side of it. For me, it's not just about research; it's about building human relationships, and being that kind of empathetic, strategic head that can help nurture relationships better. It's not just about the numbers, it's not just about the results, it's about those real relationships.
Remeny, I got a question. Through the event you went through your first child, which created more consciousness, so you literally get to next level of consciousness, right? How is that working with your customers in the sense of, I assume a lot of customers are actually not conscious about the situation, how they have been perceived or being perceived by their customers, or how internal employees perceiving the boss, whatever it is. How do you create this connection and open up that space that people start also reflecting a little bit?
Well, I think the first part is, I think the all the interviews I do when I'm speaking to the end person, the end client, the team member, can be confidential. So any part of what they want to share with me can be completely confidential. So people feel safe to talk freely to me, so that it's not, they know that if there's anything that's sensitive, it might be about a team member, it might be about money, they can tell me. And although I might share it with the team, or the owners, which is usually the owners, um, I will do it in amongst all the other feedback, but also make sure that they're not clear on who it is, because then it's not personal. It's feedback. Or this is what your clients are saying, and often the feedback can be negative. And I mean, I get kind of excited about the negative because it means you can improve. And so, although sometimes it can come across as harsh, and I can come across maybe, I'm quite, I'm very honest and I'm very blunt, but I'd say it in a way, I'll say it with a smile, and I say it in a way that's hopefully got some empathy there, that people go, okay, I understand that actually I need to change this, and I understand we need to develop that in order to be better. And so, although it might be harsh sometimes, um, I I think again that from what I've learnt, it's how to maybe help people through that difficult conversation. So and open up those conversations so that they can then build on those human relationships with people. And sometimes the results I have discovered don't end well. People have lost their jobs because of the feedback I brought back. And as harsh as that sounds, I've had situations where I've interviewed, say, well, I've had one situation where 3 businesses were complaining about a particular project manager, and that they were being kind of aggressive, and they were talking back, and not delivering, and just being really difficult. And this person was given the opportunity to have some training and understand what they were doing and why they were doing it, and helped. But they got really defensive and pushed back and got really aggressive back. So they ended up having to leave because it just wasn't going to work. And so, although sometimes it can have harsh effects, hopefully in the long run the business can be better. Because of course, if there is someone in the business who is actually not helping the clients and the other team members, it's not good for anyone. And it might be that other situations I've had where I've said to a business, why are you working with that client? That client is kind of poisoning your team and is making things difficult. And I think they're being unreasonable. I've worked with enough clients myself to be able to recognize an impossible client. And again, often the business is like, well, actually, we've been thinking that, so thank you so much. That's such a relief. And it sort of opens up those opportunities for them to feel justified to say, right, okay, we need to make this change, good or bad. And so yeah, I think it's being able to have those slightly difficult conversations in a way that actually isn't hurtful, and is an opportunity to develop and improve.
I love that. And it's so important to be able to do that in the right way to get a positive, constructive outcome, even if someone loses their job. But that is ultimately for everybody's benefit.
Mm,
And just the way you're speaking, I just love hearing that, because it's easy, I think, for humans to hide behind fears, even as
mm,
business owners. We're humans in business, and we don't like to get negative feedback unless we've actually practiced it and we've done a little bit of adjustment in our approach and our accepting of what comes our way. So it's not always easy to get that feedback. Have you found that some of your clients have struggled with the feedback you've given?
yeah, I mean, I've had tears, which, and I've cried. I mean, I've had really difficult conversations. I had one client, well, end client I spoke to, and it was traumatic. It was awful, and the client was so unhappy. It just still literally makes my eyes well up. It was so uncomfortable, and the client said they felt bereft at the way they were being treated. They were one of the biggest brands in the world, and actually that particular client, after 3 interviews, I said, unless you start making changes, I can't ethically continue to do this, because you're being dishonest with your clients, and you've got to be better with your clients and more human and have those real conversations. Stop trying to hide things. And they were over promising and completely under delivering. And I, their satisfaction rate was like 22%. And then they did take that on board. And after 6 months, I went back and I went and did the interviews again, and their satisfaction rate went up to 77%. And it was like, oh, thank goodness they're actually listening. And the clients were so grateful for the fact they were being heard. And although it was difficult, it was rewarding because they had improved. Um, but I think, and actually, that fear is really interesting, because I think that I completely understand it. It is frightening to get that honest feedback. I mean, I'm nervous of getting it, and like, it's hard. But I think if people are happy to embrace it and look for how they can improve, it's hard not to take things personally. So it's totally understandable that it's nerve-wracking. And often, I think that one of my biggest barriers with potential clients is that fear. And I will often have really good conversations with an owner of a business, and then they will speak to their board, and then suddenly it'll come crashing down and nothing happens. And I have a fear that what's happening is that they speak to the board, and the board is either like, oh, actually that's a bit scary, we don't really want to know all the dirty facts of everything that's going wrong. Or if we do speak to them, we've now got to act, so they know that there's going to be impact to the business, that they have to start. You've got to be accountable to your clients, otherwise what's the point of doing it? And so I think taking taking on what I do is it's brave, but it's a commitment to your clients and to your people and your teams that you're actually going to listen and you're going to do something about whatever it is they're saying.
Talking about fear, in which fear stage are your customers when they bring you on? Are they afraid of losing customers or something is going wrong, revenue declines? What is a trigger to get you on board?
Well, there's a few things. I work with some clients who are, yeah, they're losing clients, or and they don't know why. I've got clients who are, they've got retainers and they've lost a few retainers and they don't know kind of why, they don't know how to fix it. So then I'll be brought in to interview those clients sort of 6 months before the retainers, and then they can fix whatever problems there might be and nurture those relationships in a different way according to what their clients want. Or it might be that they're losing pitches. So I also interview people post pitch interviews. So what's happening? Why are they winning or losing projects? And then that's fascinating. And then they can actually then go back and fix what they're doing in their pitches. And by listening, they can't win that pitch after they've lost it, but then they can try and fix and win the next set of pitches. And so that's transformed some of my clients off the back of what the post pitch interviews are. But then other people use me because they want to just nurture their client relationships, and they know that it would be helpful to speak to their clients to make sure that they are being listened to. And sometimes they're very surprised that actually, their happiest clients have got often the happiest clients have got some really interesting feedback, because if they're real advocates already, they want the business to thrive and grow. So they come up with some really fascinating, helpful advice on how they think the business could be improved even more to help them grow. I've got one client who all their clients absolutely love them. I mean, they got like 100%, 100 on their NPS score, which is incredible. You can't get higher. And their clients were giving loads of advice on how they could help them with their marketing and how they can build the business. But what he wanted to make sure was that he wasn't going to lose the essence of what the business was all about, because his business was special because his clients loved him and he wanted to grow. And how do you grow without losing what you've got? And then other clients, they might be having some changes within their teams, and they want to make sure that their clients are going to be happy with the way things are going, or they're bringing on a new director, client services director, or an operations director, and it's really helpful to get me in to speak to their clients, get the feedback, and then that feeds into the way that the new directors might be working with their clients going forward, or their teams, to help improve the way they're going to be running the business. So it's kind of, I get pulled in for all sorts. And marketing is another one, is like understanding why people buy you, and why do people want to work with you, and what's your position in the market? How do people view you? How can you improve? How can you maybe change what direction you want to go in? And how do people want to get the why do people like you? And then you can put that in your messaging so that you can then sell to people who like you already, the type of people. So it helps with all sorts.
Wow. I just hearing all of that gets me excited. And I don't think it's just because I love data. It's because it's the human aspect and knowing you and how good you are at this. It's just exciting. And
Oh,
I
thank
can
you.
I can feel into these interactions, and also the goals of the customer, your customer, and getting
Yeah.
all of this stuff. It's exciting. It's transformative, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I get excited, every time I do it. And one of the things I get really excited about, I'm amazed by almost every time, is how across the board, all my clients, their clients, whether they love them or don't, always have very similar messages. And there's always about 3 or 4 key things that they can do straight away to start improving the way they're running their business. And there's a few things that come up again and again, but across the board. But it's really interesting how the businesses can improve quite quickly off the back of what their clients are actually saying. It's fascinating, and how there's always themes, and yeah, it's amazing.
Can you share the one, two, three common denominators every customer is facing in pleasing their customers, or Lacking. It's more lacking. Yeah.
Lacking. Well, I think the three things that I say it over and over, and I think that if all businesses did this, hopefully they'll use me. But but even if if they don't need to. If they just did this, they can improve your communications, and actually improve your communications in a human way, and and be more proactive with your communications. I mean, that kind of leads on to, they're all really intertwined. But then the next one, I think, is that make sure you've got processes in place to ensure your communication is good. Make sure your processes are there so that your clients know what your processes are. A lot of clients say, what processes? We don't know what the process is. There must be some process, but we don't see them. And actually, it can be a bit confusing sometimes. And so make it clear to your clients what your processes are so that they feel confident that you're running things smoothly, and that they can work with those processes. And then actually that proactivity bit from both the communication and the processes and the kind of proactive humanity, but it's also being proactive with your thinking and proactive with your engagement with your clients, and proactivity with strategy as well. I mean, I think off the back of that is a lot of people say they wished the agency or the business understood their strategy. This is the end client talking, saying, if I could if they took the time to understand us as a business and our strategic thinking, we could do so much more with them. But because they don't, we feel kind of hamstrung, tied. We can't move forward until they understand us. And so proactively look at your clients and what they really want, and then you can open up more conversations.
That's gold. I hope people listening got that down. And if you missed it, just rewind a little bit and write it down and think about it.
Communication processes and proactivity.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I got a question for you, and you touched on this in regards to what you give your customers about the feedback from their customers, right? When you interview
Yeah.
their customers. I'm really keen to hear about the feedback you get about you. So, is there some consistent feedback that you've heard from your customers about how they've experienced you or what they've gotten from the journey of working with you?
Um, wow, gosh, how do I answer that? Oh, it's really interesting
Honestly,
actually. Oh, wow. So, okay, I'm being really honest. I think one of the negative, I shouldn't start with negative, should I? But one of the negative, so being very honest, I think one of the negative things, but it's a good thing and a bad thing, I guess, is the fact that I, I, I'm, I haven't had this from clients. I shouldn't say this, should I? But is that I am empathetic, and I find it quite hard not to react when I'm speaking to someone, to encourage them, and or to be empathetic when they're upset about something. And I I know I probably need to work on that. Is actually I need to probably be more, don't show my emotions. I'm I am quite a naturally emotional person, so I need to need to make sure that I don't react maybe as much as I do. So that's a very honest response, making me feel a bit nervous saying that. Um, I think that the reaction I've had from my clients is that I think the biggest thing that I've given them is that I've helped them open up conversations that they couldn't have had otherwise. I've enabled them to understand their clients better so that they can then have more honest conversations themselves, which is really nice to hear. And I also, like, when I feed back to my clients, I feed back after each interview. If it's just general feedback, opportunities, and this is what's going on, your clients are thinking, I'll feed that back via WhatsApp, so a voice message, so people hear it. And clients really like that because it's a very human, quick, this is what your clients are thinking, this is what you need to do, make sure you talk to them about that kind of thing. And people feel happy that they said that they like that more than emails because they can hear my intonations of, actually, that's really important. Or when someone's given a 7 score for something, that they would see that on paper as really bad, but because I say, well, actually they were feeling this, So don't worry about that. Makes them feel confident and happy that they know exactly what my feedback means and or whether it's important. Obviously, I will ask for a call with my clients straight away if there's anything serious that needs to be dealt with. But really interestingly, I've met a few people at events that I've interviewed, and that have, I've had those honest conversations for my clients. And what's been really lovely is the people I've interviewed have come up to me and told other people that the experience of being interviewed by me is fun and human and engaging, and you get so much out of it. You can trust me, and it was lovely to hear that actually people enjoy being interviewed. They've compared it to other interviews that they've gone through where they've been, um, it's felt very tick boxy and informal. And just saying that is, I'm now thinking, well, actually, maybe I shouldn't change the way, I'm emotional with it. I don't know. I don't know what the right thing is. I'm only human. I can only do what I do, and I don't think I can probably totally cut off my emotions. If people don't like it and they want it tick boxy, then they probably need a straight researcher and not me.
Well,
I
Rem,
just want to
sorry,
ask.
I just have to
Yeah.
say this as a fellow empath, someone who's quite emotional. If you're not tapping into your emotions, then you're not human.
Yeah, that's true.
So I wouldn't be looking to change that.
No,
Yeah.
good.
What great feedback you've got. And I just want to say, I'm not sure if you've written down what you just said to us in the answer there, which is your customers have said that you help open up conversations and enable difficult conversations that ordinarily they wouldn't be able to have.
Mm.
And I don't know if you use that in your communications or your messaging, but I just
I
wanted to
don't. I
gift
probably
that
should. Thank you.
back to you.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you very much. It's hard to recognize sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at my own marketing. It's very hard doing it yourself.
Yeah. Corey, did you have a question?
No, just a remark that you need to be authentic as you are. Yeah, probably being emotional is exactly the reason why you get the connection with your customers, yeah, or their customers,
Yeah.
in opening up the conversation that they tap into things they normally wouldn't tell you if they would have perceived you as a standard interviewer who's just ticking the boxes. Yes, no, maybe, whatever. Yeah. So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. And obviously, when I'm interviewing, I go deeper than the questions I've got where it's appropriate, and feedback what I can. And sometimes people say they want something to be confidential, and then again, it's like, okay, well, I'll then discuss with them how they want me to convey the message back to the client, because there's no point in them giving me nitty gritty feedback without it going back to the client. But so it's got to go back in a way that the end client is happy with, but equally is going to help the business, because otherwise, what's the point? So sometimes I'll encourage them to let me share it with the owners, but not beyond that, because otherwise, as I say, what's the point?
Remeny, I got a question. Rehumanizing the business. How tangible is that? I mean, how do you measure how human the business is from being not very human, purely driven on KPIs, and then becoming more human? What is it? Is it the atmosphere, the vibe, the team spirit? How
I
would
think,
you describe a humanized business compared to a more factual, figure based and
yeah.
driven business?
Well, I think culture and values are two of the kind of the biggest parts of that. Is actually, you know, proactively trying to make sure your business, you're looking after your people in a human way. A big part of that is looking at, well, culture. What culture do you want? Do you want just bean counters that are just, they've got no personality? They walk in the door, they hang the coat up, and they become kind of robots. Maybe some businesses have to be like that, but ultimately there's still people who they're employing. But actually just enabling people to have that time to talk and engage with each other, those water cooler moments, the odd lunches, or the kind of the fruit bowls, just making sure you've got things that make life happy. And if you're happy at work, and then you're going to be happier with your teams, and you're going to be happier at home, and then you're going to be better with the environment. I mean, the spread is huge. But and I think that to measure it according to your, as your question is, I think by thinking about your business in a way that, are we being good to our people? Do you care? You might not, but if you do care, I'm assuming anyone who's listening to this obviously wants to be 6-star, and they should be trying to strive to be more human with their people, whether they're their teams or their clients. And I'm not saying become friends with all your clients and your team members. You can't. That's not possible. But what if you think about some of the things in your life that where you treat the people you love? Do you treat the people you work with in any of that same way? And is there anything there that you should bring into life? And whether or not you know, everyone has good days and bad days. And if you can appreciate that and listen to that and understand that and be empathetic to that, um, you'll have more loyalty and trust and humanity in the business. Obviously, there are also people who take the mickey and will try and take advantage of that. And so you have to be, it's that kind of radical candor. Sometimes people have to go, because actually if they're not performing because they're taking advantage of you, then you also need to be able to be challenging. I mean, it's another thing that challenging thing is an interesting one, because I think, when I interview clients, often my clients say, I wish the business was more challenging to us. They're the experts. They should be pushing back more. And actually having those difficult conversations with your people, your teams, your clients is important. It's being brave and that is also being human. And, you know, the word being human as well is, I've been challenged on it. Of course, being human, sometimes possibly the worst thing you can be. Maybe it should be more animal. Um, because there's the best and the worst of humanity. I'm obviously talking about the best of humanity, and not the worst of humanity that unfortunately we do see.
What a great segue to my next question. Given that you're so purposeful, that's very clear, and you're driven, and I get a sense that you are wanting to create change. You're purposeful. You're creating change by the work that you're doing for your customers. Do you have a vision of the future that you're helping to create? And if so, what does that look like?
Well, yes, I do. So it's kind of huge. My idea, it's when I say I want to humanize business, that's kind of in a nutshell. So when I die, I want to be able to say I've had an impact on the world. And what I want to do is start this thing I want, is called the human standard, where I want businesses to be, as Corey was saying, kind of measuring that humanity in business. So similar to B Corp, it's measuring the way a business is being human, and having it so people are striving to show that they're actually being proud of the fact they're being human with their people, and having it so that people can measure internally, maybe online as a starting point, and then actually more in depth with interviews and things, and whether, but having it so that if all businesses are trying to be more human, or the businesses that are trying to, like for example the B Corp businesses, um, if you are a human business and you've proven it, I know that if I was a potential client, I'd be much more likely to want to work with a business that was going to be more human, good at communicating, good at being proactive and nurturing relationship. I know if I was, looking for a job, I'd be more likely to go for a business that had that human standard. And the same with suppliers. So you're going to get the best people. And I think that, as a customer, I would pay more for a business that was going to be someone I knew I could rely on to be human and engaging, and who actually cares about me. Um, and the same as an employer or an employee is actually making sure that that is uh, shown in a way that is, proud to be human. And I think so. The benefits to humanity is good, and then benefits on the smaller bottom line, financially it's good for business to be more human. And so yeah, that's not something I can do on my own. I'm hoping that we can do something with the Six Star community, and I think that there's a lot of scope there that together we can maybe um, make some make this a reality, because it's, as I say, it's far bigger than I can do on my own.
It's so exciting, Remeny. And as you were talking, I know I was watching Corey's reactions as well. For me, it was like, yeah, yes, I want to be dealing with a business who has the human standard there rather than one that doesn't. And it's such like you said, it's big, it's powerful, it's so important, and it's a beautiful future that you're wanting to
Mm.
create. And
Well, thank you. Well, as I say, it's
I'm
something
looking,
that I can't do on my own.
no, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we at Six Star can help bring this to life. And we're going to work on that together, which is
Yeah,
so exciting.
that is really exciting, and I think it's there's a lot to be done, but I think there's definite scope there to make it
Mm,
real with the right people.
absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I love about the Six
Collaboration.
Star, is that actually the humanity. And I think the thing that everyone um, the thing that to be Six Star that everyone has in common is the fact that you can only do it to be by being human. And actually the difference between a normal business and someone who's striving to be Six Star, it's that those little details of the humanity, and it's that engagement with the human. That at a hotel you have someone who's being relationship led, nurturing those relationship with you and talking to you like you're a human being and not just a customer. That makes it Six Star, and not just it's not just about the money.
You actually went into my next question.
Oh, sorry.
And but I'll ask it anyway, because you might have a different lens on it. And that is, what does being Six Star mean to you?
um well, I mean, as I was just saying, it's about um it's about striving for being the best version of yourself, being the best version, encouraging other people to be the best version of themselves. And the best way of doing that is by being human. And I think, as I said, is that when I've listened to previous podcasts and I've done some of the interviews with you, and the thing that I get so excited about is everyone talks about, well, it's that human communication that I've had that made it Six Star. It's that being delighted by behavior and communication by someone makes a business or makes a person Six Star. It's that care and that love and that empathy that you get from someone else that makes it possible to be at Six Star. It's about being relationship led, not transactional, and caring about. So in my business, when I'm working with clients and when I'm interviewing clients, the relationships that are the strongest are the ones where both parties care about each other, and they work together as a team. So although you might be having your website built, or I mean, at the moment I'm having an extension built, and actually working with the builders and talking to them in a human way, and them communicating to me, and in a way that we're working together to make this work, is what, to me, is what makes it Six Star, is those human interactions.
It's it's really inspiring, Remedy. I really like
Thank you.
hearing that. Yeah. What do you think is the most difficult thing for business owners in today's business society to be Six Star? Like, what could be the biggest, I guess, roadblock or barrier?
um I mean, unfortunately, I think that the world we're living in today, and the economic world we're living in today, I think, you know, I I think it's probably time and money, unfortunately. And I think that people are so afraid of what's coming that they think, well, they can't afford to spend the time or the money to invest in taking that extra time to nurture those relationships, because they've got to get on and win new business and do more work and do this and do that, and actually they need to cut costs because everything's going up. and then they lose sight. They get so focused on that today work and that kind of that treadmill of a job's got to be done, that they forget about those ongoing relationships, and they can't take that time to build those relationships to make them 6-star. And so I think it's about pulling back and taking stock and being brave and saying, okay, we need to think, how can we be 6-star, and what can we do to build a better relationship to make a more loyal client who's going to then refer me to another business to make more engagement. And I think that's the ideal, but I think there's a lot of financial worry and fear. I mean, obviously I'm hoping that actually, of course, by nurturing your relationships and striving for 6-star and striving for humanity will benefit everyone. I just wish people could be brave and keep the wheels of commerce going in a human way that actually helps things go on rather than stop, which is what's happening here. I mean, we've got strike after strike after strike here, and people aren't being paid enough. People aren't being paid enough to live, and of course, of course it's not. But how do we break that cycle? And I think it's recognizing the needs of the humanity and humans and the people we're working with, and giving a little bit more, but don't stop. That's where things start to fail.
It's a great message. Don't stop, and don't stop believing. I think
Mm,
is really important, regardless of
yeah.
what's going on around us.
Yes, it's hard sometimes. Oh, I mean,
Mm,
I struggle with it. It's really hard to pull out of that day-to-day stress of
mm.
life and work. But I think it's possible.
So, what can people do to get out of that treadmill that you're talking about? What's something that you think can help them to stay on track and stay looking forward to the future that they envision for themselves and others?
I think just talk to people, build those relationships and proactively reach out to people in your community, in your work life, your past life. Nurture those relationships. Without people, we've got nothing. And so, whether that's 6-star or not, it's just a matter of remember that people are people, and you need to nurture those relationships. And actually, without the people around you, don't do it all for transactional, and don't necessarily do it just because you want to get work. Do it because you care about the people. But if you do that with your clients, so if I think about my work, if you take the time to engage with your customers that you may not have engaged with for 6 months, you never know what might come out of that. But do it in a way that's human. Offer them something that might be valuable to them, whether it's an event or think about your marketing. How can you engage with people in a way that's going to benefit them, not just make you money? Hopefully that will come. But I think it's just proactively try to engage with your people in a way that keeps them loyal and engaged.
That's great, and of course that makes us feel better too. Just
Yeah.
connecting with people, it makes us feel alive. Reminds us of why we're doing what we're doing.
Yep. Exactly.
Mm. Wow, what a beautiful conversation. We are coming in close to the end, and I just want to check in with Corey. Corey, have you got any final questions or comments that you'd like to make?
Not a question, rather the comment that, as you just said, at the end of the day, everything comes back to and down to people and relationships. Yeah. Regardless of the automation, how much AI we're using, it's always the people behind the brands, behind the process who make things work.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. And if that environment is not smooth, is not harmoniously working and interacting with each other, you don't get the
yeah,
best out of it.
yeah,
Mm.
Yeah.
very true. In closing, Remini, is there any piece of advice or parting kind of thing that you'd like to leave our listeners with to consider, ponder over, or do?
Um, I think, I guess, just think about the idea of being proactively human with your people, and actually look at ways of how can you, even if you think about one little change you could make in your business, in your life, that could make someone else happier in the way they're working? How can you communicate better with them? I mean, I could go back to my three things: is, remember to be proactive with your customers and your clients and your people, and engage with them in a more human way. Better make sure your communication is good, and make sure your processes, the slightly more boring bit is really important, is make sure you've got good processes, put the processes in place to reach out to your customers throughout the project and afterwards and again, and think of it as an ongoing cycle with the people you're working with, and people you've worked with in the past. Nurture those relationships.
Thank you. What a gem of a conversation. It's been a delight. I've loved every part of it, and I'm sure you have too, Corey.
Yeah, thanks a lot for being
Uh,
here.
Oh, thank you so
yeah.
much. It's been really fun talking to you both about it all, and I hope I haven't rattled on too much.
No, it's just a sign of your passion for what you love doing and how important this is to you. So that's really beautiful to see.
Well, thank you. No, it's been great.
Thank you, Remeny, and thank you for being part of the Six Star World, for being my co-host. And I've learnt more about you and what you do tonight. So it's just been wonderful, and I look forward to speaking with you very soon.
Well, thank you so much. It's been great being here, and it's great being part of the Six Star community and world. So it's brilliant. So thank you.
Thank you.